Bizarre stories from subscribers. Hello, Leo Augusto. My name is Davi. I would like to share a story. I used to live in the countryside of São Paulo, more precisely in Tapetininga. One day on my birthday, I decided to go to a friend's house. His name is Leonardo. His house was in another neighborhood, a bit far from mine, so I took my bike and left. I got there after half an hour, and when I arrived, I saw my friend and another one, Gabriel. Gabriel was with his girlfriend, so I greeted everyone and we started chatting. After a few minutes of chatting, we decided to go somewhere. That's when we decided to go to the cemetery to see the people who were buried there. Once we got there, we looked at the tombstones and then went to a house where people were being mourned. My friend started smoking. Suddenly I got chills. I looked in the direction of a tomb outside and saw the figure go behind the tombstone. I didn't say anything to the guys. I just kept wondering if it was something in my head or if a ghost really passed by there. After they finished lighting the candles that were in the house, we went outside. They sat right on top of the tomb where I saw the figure. Looking closely, it was the tomb of an old lady. In the picture, she was wearing bottle-bottom glasses. She had been dead for quite some time. Hey, Davi, what are you staring at without even blinking? Nothing. I was just here seeing who was the person you guys are sitting on top of. Do you believe in spirits and life after death? No, I usually come here often to prove to myself that these things don't exist. If there were spirits around here, they would have already appeared. I've never seen anything. Have you seen anything?
No.
After a few minutes, we started walking towards the exit. We saw glasses just like the ones the old lady who had died used to wear. It's strange that those glasses appeared out of nowhere. When we entered, they weren't there. How did that thing appear out of nowhere? Guys, these glasses look a lot like the ones from the old lady at that tomb we were at. I don't know, but I think something's going on here, huh? What's this, Davi? What are you suggesting, my brother? That the old lady's ghost came here and put this? This is nonsense, my friend. I'm going to prove these things don't exist. So Gabriel picked it up and prepared to kick it far away. He lost his balance while kicking and fell on his rear. After that, we left there and went to our homes. The next day, Gabriel's foot was swollen, looking like it was broken or something like that. But the strangest thing was that it was the foot he used to kick the glasses of that old lady from the cemetery. Gabriel has had repercussions from that day until now. We see it when he walks with a limp. Hello, my name is Jeremiah. This story happened when I was 12 years old. In order to cut costs, my parents decided to move to a cheaper house because the rent for the apartment we were in was quite expensive. After some time looking for an option, a real estate broker suggested a house for us. It was a bit far from the city center. In fact, it was quite far, about 20 minutes by car. Being the only cheap option available, my parents decided to accept the offer and rented the house. In it, we would pay half the price, man, that we paid for the rent at the apartment. The next day, we packed our bags and went to the new house. It was pretty old, but it was livable, right? I took a good look at the place, and exploring, I saw that there was a basement, dude. And in that basement, there were some boxes thrown around. Me, being very curious, I started to mess around, right, to see what was inside. And there I found old magazines, phone books, a bunch of old junk without value. Until digging deeper, I found something interesting. A pair of roller skates from my parents' time. It was the only thing worth anything in that basement. The rest, my family threw everything away. We did a heavy cleaning in that house, man, and after that we were good. Until that happened. It was Saturday night, approximately 9 o'clock. Sitting on the couch, I put on my skates and started playing right there. The living room had a good space to walk around. I started walking and had fun, until out of nowhere the wheel locks up and I fall to the ground. I hit my head hard, but I managed to recover slowly. When I look forward, I see a boy staring at me. He had gray skin with white hair and black lips. I was scared and tried to run, but I couldn't move, man. I couldn't get out of the place. I was paralyzed. I was trying really hard and it was no use. Until he came up to me and held my head, I didn't see anything after that. I only remember the next day waking up in my bed. I looked for my mother and told her what I had seen. She said she saw me sleeping on the floor and put me in bed. There was nothing abnormal. Asking where she had put the skates, she said she hadn't seen anything. I searched the house afterwards, went to all corners and found nothing of the skates. This was my story. Leo Augusto, I hope you enjoyed it. Hello Leo, my name is Eduardo. I'm going to tell a story that happened to me when I was 12. I was with my friend. We had agreed to go to another friend's house so he could give us a comic book, right? But he lived near an abandoned asylum. And on the other side there was a cemetery. I never liked going to his house because I was very scared. So we went to get the comic books at Ronaldo's house. When we got there, he had proposed a challenge to us. He would only give the comic books after we entered the asylum and right after in the cemetery. If we refused, we wouldn't get the comic books, so we accepted and went first to the asylum. We had to jump the wall and Ronaldo was the first. When he was almost down on the other side, he fell. But he fell as if he had been pushed because he stopped about 5 meters away from the wall. He got hurt but not too much. So we jumped, right, without any problems. We entered the abandoned asylum and saw a giant hallway. We split up to wander around the area. I was a bit scared to be alone and I have claustrophobia in enclosed spaces.
And at that time I started to hyperventilate, which is that rapid breathing, right?
But I gradually calmed down. One of my friends shouted. I went to see what had happened. When I see it's Ronaldo and an old man. And he was bald and shirtless.
His skin was torn. You shouldn't have entered my territory. You will suffer the consequences. My other friend showed up and saw.
What was going on? We ran to a corridor. That led us to the cemetery. But we saw that Ronaldo was left behind. At the beginning of the corridor, paralyzed. It seemed like the old man was holding him. In some supernatural way.
You will suffer the consequences for having entered here. You, your friends. We started throwing stones at the old man.
A stone hit his eye. Ronaldo managed to get out of that state of paralysis. And we ran. We hid behind a tombstone and watched. The old man appeared. And he kept trying to find us, but he couldn't. And then he went into a grave and disappeared. After 10 minutes, we went to see what had happened, right? And we just saw the grave there covered with dirt. Man, we went home and never went back to that place again. Bizarre stories from subscribers. Hello, my name is Guilherme Chagas. I am 14 years old. There was a day when I went to sleep at my aunt's house. And when it was 3:33 in the morning, I woke up with a noise coming from the balcony. I called my aunt and she went to check what happened. She said it was nothing, so I went back to the room. As I was falling asleep, I heard the dog bark, but I didn't pay much attention. I thought he would stop soon, but the dog wouldn't stop. It lasted about 10 minutes. As I was passing by the living room window, I saw an old man looking at me. I asked who he was and he didn't answer. I went outside to see if he needed anything, and he said he wanted to come into the house. I told him my aunt wouldn't allow it. At that very moment, my aunt appeared at the window and I looked at her. She asked what I was doing talking to myself. Aunt, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to this gentleman here. See? Gentlemen? Gentlemen? Where's the old man who was just in front of me? He was no longer there. I froze on the spot. My aunt took me inside the house and I went to sleep very scared of what had happened. Man, what a danger. If it was a psychopath thief, then you would have already flipped. My old man crazy. What an idea to leave the house to be able to talk to a stranger. Don't do this, my friends. Lock everything up, pretend you didn't see, go inside the house, hide under the bed, man. What is this? What a crazy idea to open the door and talk to a stranger. Hello, my name is Tiago and I am 9 years old. Something strange happened at home. My brother and I were getting ready to sleep, right? I lay in bed while he was putting up the curtain, right? He was fixing it there. I was already falling asleep. I blinked a few times. I saw something black, a shadow behind the curtain, standing there looking at me. At the time I didn't care, right? My brother trying to scare me and such. This jerk is trying to scare me at bedtime, right? I started to touch his face and slapped him to stop him from being silly. I heard a snore. When I look at the bed, there's my brother sleeping. If your brother is sleeping, who is this behind the curtain, partner? Ah, crap, my God, I'm shitting myself. I ran to the door and turned on the light. At that moment, the thing had already disappeared. There was nothing behind the curtain anymore. Hey, Tiago, turn off the light, man. I'm trying to sleep, didn't you see? There was a thing there behind the curtain. It's all in your mind, man. Ugh, man, I was having a great dream. Why did you wake me up, huh? Turn off that light, dude. I could swear it was something strange. The next day, I told my family about the apparition. They started laughing at me and I was quite embarrassed. When it was time to sleep, I didn't see anything strange anymore. Everything was calm. Until I woke up in the middle of the night with something pulling me. I couldn't scream or blink. I wasn't breathing properly. It was crazy, man. Something pulled me under the bed and at that moment I hit my head and passed out. I only woke up in the morning. I had a tremendous headache, but I didn't tell anyone for fear of being laughed at again. Hi Leo, this is Felipe. Send a shout out to Paraiba.
Shout out to Paraiba. How are you?
So I was driving with my cousins going to my uncle's house when out of nowhere the tire went flat. We went out to try to find a place that could help us while my other cousins were trying to fix it. I was walking with my 14-year-old cousin, wandering around there until we found an old house. It seemed to have been abandoned a long time ago. As we were getting closer, we heard a very loud snap that came from inside. We went to take a look through the peephole to see what it was. When I looked, I didn't see anything inside, but the door opened with a bang, hitting my head. Fortunately, it didn't hurt much, it just made me a little dizzy. My alert cousin grabbed my wrist and started running. I just ran too, right? And when I looked back, I saw a black creature with some kind of mask and black fur. It was walking like a dog, very fast. We ran like hell until we got to the car. We found an old house and there was a creature inside, a bizarre creature, man. It chased us, but fortunately we managed to get here alive. Oh, for God's sake, it must have been a dog following you, right? Geez, everything for you kids is a ghost and evil creature, right? For God's sake, get in the car and wait for us to see if we can fix the tire here, okay? They don't believe us. We went on like that with the flat tire until we found a tire repair shop on the side of the road. Good afternoon, can you fix the tire, friend? Yes, please, we were on the road and out of nowhere the tire went flat. That's common around these parts. You fell into the devil's trap, what? That's right. Legend has it that there's a strange creature that lives around here, looking for human flesh. And to satisfy its hunger, it sets traps to make people fall into them and become food for it. It's been a while since a customer showed up here. The last one was, let me see here, about 3 months ago. All you find on this road here are all the abandoned cars. Then, oh, the creature has a feast here, my brother. You have to be very careful. Oh, wow. He showed a completely wrecked car, man. And he said that it was possibly the monster that did that. That's when my cousins believed us, and they were scared shitless. After the repair, we left, and when I looked out the window, I see the creature chasing me. Oh man, fortunately we managed to get out of there alive. What a craziness.
I traveled to the countryside to spend a few days there with my family. My mother and my brother went with me. We traveled at night and arrived there early in the morning. I kept asking my mother to let my brother and I go out with our cousins who live there. We wanted to go to a farm of a family friend. There we would pick pine cones. After asking her so much, she finally let us. However, my grandmother told us not to go, because it was going to be noon, and that's the time when souls usually wander the earth. We didn't care and went anyway, right? There were several pine trees there. We had a hard time getting through the fence wires. They were very close together. I spotted a wall and asked my cousins what it was. It was a huge wall. They answered me, it's the cemetery wall. I suggested we take the opportunity to get a spine for the dead body, which made everyone laugh. We were enjoying ourselves. We kept walking and only had to pass through one last fence to get close to the cemetery wall. My cousins passed. When my brother was going, I looked at the wall and saw something jumping out of the cemetery and running towards us. It seemed to be a man. I couldn't see his face. He was wearing that hat that people from the hinterland use a lot, with a dress shirt and pants, and his face was all dark. I couldn't see anything. I saw that and told my brother to go back. I was desperate. The thing was coming towards us. My cousins were going through the wire to leave. One of them in desperation hit his back on a wire and scratched himself badly. We started running desperately without even looking back, when suddenly my brother stumbles and falls to the ground. I didn't know whether to keep running or help him. I picked him up, and when I looked back, the thing was still running after us. I didn't know how he was getting through the wires so quickly and still chasing us. We left the farm. The thing that seemed to be a man disappeared out of nowhere. When we got home, I told everyone what happened. My grandmother said she tried to warn us and we didn't listen to her, and she even scolded us for having mocked. After that, I only went out with an adult nearby. How are you, Leo Augusto? This is Antonio speaking. Well, my story happened at my grandparents' house when I was 9 years old. They lived in a 2-story house next to a market. It was one of those Sunday afternoons. We were all very happy, eating barbecue together, until my mother sends me upstairs to get more chairs because the ones we had were not enough for the crowd. As I always do what my mother asked me to, I went there to get the chairs. When I got upstairs, I noticed that the kitchen faucet was completely open. I was kind of scared and turned it off. My God, what a waste of water here, crazy. Who could have opened this? Wasn't there anyone here? Until when I was going down the stairs of the house, I noticed another strange thing. There was no one else at the barbecue. That's when I got desperate, not believing. I put the chairs where the grill was and started hunting everyone. That's when at that exact moment I heard the door slam hard. I looked at the entrance and saw a weird shadow coming in. I started to sweat cold. I looked slowly to see who it was, and it was my family. They said they had gone to the market to buy meat without telling me. I didn't like their attitude. Man, what is this? Everyone went out to buy things there. How many people were there? About 10 people, 15 people. Everyone went to buy meat at the supermarket. Did they leave you alone? Jesus. Dude, I would be really freaked out, man. I would get there. Then guys, I brought the chair.
Guys, I would be really scared, dude. Luckily nothing happened, right? It wasn't anything supernatural there.
This is a story of Genesio. Hello Leo, your channel is awesome.
I'm going to tell you a bizarre thing. I live in a village that has a very sinister story. My ancestors say that a long time ago there lived a man who was about 40-something years old. He lived in a cabin in the woods and hated other people. He surrounded himself in every way and even set traps near where he lived to scare off anyone who tried to get close. No one knew exactly why this man isolated himself so much and hated people. He used to patrol around his house with his pet dog. He didn't feed that animal. The dog was left hungry so that when someone was around, the animal would attack with rage. People started to avoid that place until this day. I grew up hearing this story that it was forbidden to walk in the supposed place where this old man lived. I think that was the reason why I wanted to go there. To see this story with my own eyes. If this happened, it was over 1,000 years ago. At this point, the guy is already dead, and the most that can happen is the whole house being blown up, right?
My cousin liked the idea and we went to the forest to see what was there.
We left at a time when there were no adults at home. It was around 3:30 thereabouts. We went with my dog, Scooby Skrelson. We walked for about 30 minutes into the forest in search of the mysterious cabin. It was quite difficult to walk as there was no proper trail, you know? Because of the creepy story that was going around, no one was crazy enough to be walking around there. Just us, right?
Until we reached a point where Scooby Skrelson started barking and pulling. We saw something strange. There was a hole in the ground, very deep, and inside there were animal bones.
My cousin said it looked like a trap, and that the animals that fell there couldn't climb back up. Something told me we were getting closer. Further ahead we came to a wooden barrier. It was too high for us to see what was on the other side, and we couldn't find the entrance. A door, you know? We decided to climb the tree to take a look over the fence. When we got to the top branch, we saw a well-finished cabin. There was a lot of bush and trees around. It really looked like an abandoned place. Suddenly we heard a growl, but it wasn't from my dog. It came from somewhere near that house. Scooby Skrelson immediately went after the noise. We climbed down from the tree and tried to follow him. What was to come was the confirmation of a supernatural manifestation. I saw Scooby Skrelson come back scratched. I looked at the horizon and saw nothing, just leaves moving on the ground. It seemed like my dog was attacked by some invisible creature. We ran a lot to get away from that place. That's when we fell into a hole. I think we were unconscious in that hole for about 4 hours. I only realized later, my dog licking me. We were trapped in a hole in the middle of the bush, scared and desperate to get out of there. Luckily, there were roots on the walls of the hole. That's how we managed to climb out. Our parents were worried about us, and when we got home, we said we went out to play and got lost. Luckily, we survived that day, or rather, that night.